Alright gents, I'm here in Russia. I'm currently in a city called Astrakhan, which is by the Caspian Sea. It's the middle of summer, so it's bloody hot. I'd say it's around 41 degrees Celsius, but it's quite dry, so it's not too bad, but it's hot. So I'm gonna get a Marshrutka, which is a little bus thing. It's just like a van basically, but it's a common form of public transport here. So I'm just walking down to the main street here. I can get the 117 or the 89C. They're my two options. And I believe from my conversation at the bus stop yesterday that the cost will be 30 rubles for one trip. It's actually only 4 stops, but if it wasn't so hot, I'd probably just walk, to be honest. But at 41 degrees, I'll get on that little sweatbox Marshrutka for the win. Let's go the long way around here. So 30 rubles is about 30 cents. Obviously the exchange rate's jumping around a lot, but it's around 30 US cents for a one-way trip. And what I noticed yesterday when I caught one in the other direction was that these prices have been fixed since 2021. So I'd imagine that if the prices go up, it'd be quite controversial, because it's a bit of a, it's a bit of a staple, right? Like everyone needs this to get around. If it's very cold or very hot, this place gets extreme temperatures in both directions, right? So let's get on them. Obviously no aircon. The aircon's the open window, and I don't really know how to communicate to buy a ticket or to get off the bus. So I'll just do my best, but it should be fun. I'll just flip the camera around just to see what we're dealing with here. A typical apartment blocks. One more apartment blocks. You see, it's quite different to Belarus. Belarus tends to have a lot of resources, a lot of money put into just, ripping up weeds and that kind of stuff, painting stuff, keeping it neat. But in Russia, they don't tend to put as much money into that kind of stuff. So it's one of the immediate things you'll notice. So I think this is the bus stop here. Yeah, you can see it's got that little nook there. But of course, only crazy people are out when it's 41 degrees. So it looks like this lady and the young boy there are waiting for a bus. Let's turn around and see if one's coming. No. Oh, there's one over there. Actually, no, that's an ambulance. That would be an ambulance over there in the yellow. Not surprised given the heat. My goodness. All right, so we'll pop up here in the shade. These two guys, people are just kind of waiting here. This is a 44th. This is not us. This is not the go for us. We want a, what did I say, 89C? An 89C, let's just go in the shade here. This is insanely hot. An 89C or I forget the other one already. 114 maybe? Alright, it's 89C or it's 117 actually. So these are the two we can get on. We could have got on that one, but it would have meant a bit of a walk. So these are the cool modern buses, which are actually cheaper. These ones are only 25 rubles. You can tell air-conned, modern, good condition. Only 25 rubles. To go on the Marshrutka, you got to pay 30, man. It's a cool experience. Here's one up close. This is one of the nicer buses. Look at that. I think there's air conditioning in there. You can even press the buzzer and stuff. This guy's pretty happy. I wonder what he does. Does he scan on or has to give the money to the driver? Looks like he's going straight to the driver to hand the money over. Oh, this is good. In my home city of Melbourne, this kind of heat's really common in the summer. So this lady's going to get on here as well. So are we. All right, let's get some money out. That looks like it's pretty full in there. Keep trying to film anyway. We'll see how we go. All right, turns out the price was only 25 rubles. Guess I paid 30. I'm really confused, but pretty cruise. I'll give you a quick look. Driver at the front, you have passengers at the front as well. I think 2 people can sit up there. I reckon we might almost jump off here as well. Follow this dude off. Spasibo. Alright, I did have a quick count. I reckon this was the 4th stop, so I reckon we're okay. Should maybe be here, I can't quite tell to be honest. I'll just walk this direction. think that it'll be pretty obvious where it is. If you rewind the video about 2 minutes, I was busy saying, you know, it's 41 degrees here, but I'm from the southern part of Australia. We get this all the time in the summer. It's all good. What I didn't think about was that my phone is from China and not from Australia, so my phone just packed it in. It just said overheating, 3, 2, 1, shuts off. So anyway, I gave the driver my money, my 30 rubles, which turned out to be only 25. The price went down 5 rubles, not sure what happened. Maybe a different company runs that one, I've got no idea. But anyway, I sat down, and this next stop, this dude gets on, and he kind of sits behind me. And then he just kind of puts his arm from behind me with like 25 rubles in it. Well, that's very kind of you, thank you, sir. I'll take that, I can buy some water or something. So of course I'm like, I've seen this before in other countries where people just pass the change. You just keep passing to the front, person by person by person, and then their ticket's paid for. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I had the 25 rubles in maybe probably 8 different coins, like a handful of coins. And I put my arm around to the lady in front of me and kind of put it in front of her. And she wasn't responding. So I kind of like shook my hand like this, and she wasn't responding. So I'm like, okay, I've clearly got this mixed up. And looking back at the dude, and he's just looking at me. And it's like, okay. So I look around, it's like, oh, the woman's asleep on the bus. Fair enough, it's bloody hot. So it's like, okay, so I got up and gave it to the next person, and they did this whole thing of passing the money up. It's kind of funny because everyone goes past the driver. You can just give them on the way through, but they go down, sit down, and pass it forward. One of these kind of quirky little cultural things. So in case you haven't taken one of these buses before, foreigners don't tend to use them that much. I reckon 80-90% of guys I know around here don't tend to use these things. They tend to get taxis, because taxis are maybe $3, $4, $5 depending where you're going. Usually as well in bigger cities, you have metros that work really well. For example, in Minsk, I use the metro all the time. Sometimes taxis, but never Marshrutkas. For whatever reason, we're just like, yeah, it's this little kind of hot sweatbox box that's slow and we don't understand how it works. So guys just kind of don't bother usually, but now I've had a couple of goes. I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling empowered to use Marshrutkas in Astrakhan. Welcome everybody. I'm currently in a city called Astrakhan, or Astrakhan in Russian. And this is an interesting place, I'll tell you what. You've got this kind of stuff around quite a lot, and then you've got this kind of stuff, cranes in the sky, building a nice new apartment block there as well. It's a very interesting place. It's gone past a mosque there. You can see Orthodox church there and there. And I'm going to walk into the city centre. It's been a real mix in terms of what this place throws up. So I'm just going to go for a walk. I've literally arrived just last night. We're in the middle of the day now. And I've just walked a couple of kilometres in, and I'm surprised what I've seen. I tell you, it's been a real mix of stuff. You've got a mansion that's just been built right next to all these slums. It's a very interesting place. Now, my understanding is what you have here is a lot of these older houses, which I just called slum, which is probably not a fair thing to say, but a lot of these older houses are still owned by government, and you've got the oldies that live there from the Soviet era. And the government's like, well, we can move you out to a new apartment, but the new apartment won't be in the city centre or around the city centre, so the oldies don't want to move. So you got this kind of the old traditional kind of wooden houses that they have here. I'll point those out when I go past one. I'm sure there'll be more. Although I'm getting really close to the city centre now, so maybe we won't see any, but I can make another video, edit it in maybe. This person's just doing their own little thing. Hazard lights on, reversing. Oh no, that's good. So yeah, these kind of old wooden houses, I've seen a lot in Belarus in rural areas, but here they just don't seem to be in very good repair a lot of the times. Maybe they're just getting a bit too old to take care of them or whatever. But yeah, so the oldies don't want to move. So you got this contrast of dilapidated, falling apart, kind of 19th century wood shacks mixed in with this kind of stuff. And apparently this is quite common all over Russia. Again here on the corner, just falling over. It seems that a lot of places are just abandoned and they just build somewhere else. Maybe, I mean, I'm guessing in a smallish city like this, the land value is not great. It's not super high, right? So cost of pulling apart the the building might be more than just finding an abandoned site somewhere else with no building on it. Just a guess, because this is unusual how many buildings like this are around, but at the same time, how many of these are around, new ones. So if you just saw that all the time, you think, well, this is like abandoned kind of ghost town, right? That's how it feels sometimes. But then it's not. There's still some life in it, as you see. So, interesting contradiction. Let's wait here patiently for the lights to go green. There's some good examples of kind of old wooden houses. They're in okay repair though, not too bad. Nice bright colours on them, nice orange and yellow, or apricot almost actually, salmon if you will. So kind of get a fair bit of this stuff as well, just randomly empty. Yet they're building new ones next door. You know what I mean? It's something doesn't quite add up. I don't quite understand. And after being in St. Peter and Moscow only so far, I wasn't expecting such a rapid, significant difference. I think we're sick of waiting here. I reckon this might not work. Let's maybe try. Oh, that side won't work either because there's no corner there. All right, we stay here then. Hopefully it goes green at some stage. And there's two locals next to me, so I reckon if they just crack the shits and move at some stage, I'll follow them. So I chose Astrakhan as a place to come, one of many that I'll be visiting, for a few reasons. One, it's, well, bloody nice weather. Two, there were some fairly positive things written about it online. A few nice videos about it. Blah, blah, blah. But now, I get to walk towards the city centre, and I think really you need to see that city centre. There we go. This is also closed, is it? It says it's open, but looks to be closed. So these are the wooden houses I was kind of talking about earlier. Again, these ones are in okay repair, but it's a decent bloody contrast, isn't it? Still, you look at that, and then you look at that up there. It's like, what's going on? Because to go that high, it indicates there must be some value in the land, right? If the land is low value, you don't build high like that. Just basic economics. If the land has no value, you just build wide, not high, right? But then you got this right here as well. Interesting. So yeah, that explanation was given to me by a Belarusian friend of mine who lives in Russia. Told me this is the case in some cities. The government still owns the land, and the inhabitants don't want to move. So they don't, and they don't force them, so they just stay there, and you got this kind of weird contrast thing. This is a good example here. Look at this. Not too bad, but I mean, surely no one lives there. Surely no one lives there. You wouldn't think, right? See the chair against the thing there. Oh, this looks like, oh no, someone lives here, for sure. Oh, this is nice. Even got plants there. There you go. Maybe it's some kind of duplex that you can't pull one down without the other, I guess. So one's being kept in good repair, and they've even got a cat. Meow. Although the main roads are almost always in quite good repair, and the footpaths as well. I noticed, there's got a bit of a traffic jam there. I'll show you. I'm noticing a lot of side streets. Oh, here you go. There's a lot of like savage potting like this. And down here, it was like the road hadn't quite been made. It was more like this kind of side track thing. Kind of interesting. Because if you're not gonna, this is the problem with making roads. It looks good to have a road, but if you're not going to maintain it, you're better off not having it. You know what I mean? Because you end up just potted and you can't kind of go down them. This is what I'm talking about. So this one's kind of, it's not too bad. It's a little bit rough up the top, but it's actually not too bad. It's actually quite nice. It's got a little bit of character about this building. Slightly run down, but not too bad. But then next door you got this. Perfect, recently painted, modern looking building. It's the contrasts are doing things to my brain. I don't really understand them. It's another one of these kind of side streets where it just kind of ends up in dirt. I'm not sure if it was ever cement or not. Maybe it wasn't. Not sure. As I say, I've only really been here for a couple of hours, just kind of walking around, got some food. But I noticed how little eye contact people give you here. Compared to Moscow, I felt like I was being stared at most of the time. Here people seem to be very much doing their own thing. Let's check out these two people. Same deal again. Yeah, see, I've got a lot of this. This is the norm here, apparently. These side streets. Oh, it really matters too much either way. I'm not sure how it works out. If it gets too muddy. Again, this kind of older house. It's quite a beautiful house. Just, yeah. Once you start getting the rotting of the timber there, you're in a bit of trouble, aren't you? You got to replace it then. Start getting that rotting of the timber, though it's holding up quite well in the scheme of things. So that's an interesting contradiction so far. And then again, you look here. Got these spunky new modern apartments. Stop, literally in English. This is the Russian characters. I'm noticing this a lot actually. It seems that English is taking over from Russian, but just using Russian characters. Looks like we missed here. Here, that was a Yandex taxi. That's crazy. Should we get across here? I'm just trying to think of where I'm going to ultimately end. I can go green this way. I think I might keep going this way. So I'm pretty sure we're going to come up to a river fairly soon. I just had a quick look on the maps here. Is that let's say Rinok. Yeah. Oh, here's a Stolovaya. Oh, sick. Oh man, I should have gone here. I had a bloody hamburger in the shopping mall. Oh, this is where you want to go. Oh, hardcore Stolovaya. And again, above, really quite beautiful decoration. You know, someone's blood, sweat and tears went into all this. Looks quite pretty. All the carving. Yeah, very traditional. Very attractive. Here again, very nice. In the old Stolovaya. So if you're not, sorry, sometimes I just assume that if you're watching this, you probably speak Russian. But Stolovaya means dining room, is the official translation, which effectively means restaurant. And they'll usually have a pre-cooked stuff sitting there, and you just go through, you get your tray. It's like a school cafeteria, really. You get your tray, you pick a couple of salads. They might be, I had a good one in St. Petersburg, actually. I think I paid a total of around $5 and oh, it's good. It's good food, actually. I have to say, the Russian cuisine's not too bad. And I say not too bad because it's bloody hard to make good food in this climate. You know what I mean? This climate's tough, man. It's hard to make good food. You know, mainly just holding on to bloody potatoes. You're getting a year's worth of potatoes, just holding on to them for the year, you know? It's hard to bloody grow anything. It's frozen all the time. So, you know, countries in this kind of climate, they don't usually have the best food supplies, you know? But I don't mind Russian food, to be honest. Get maybe one or two little things of salad. Get some puree. Puree is mashed potato. Not sure what's coming around the corner here. No offense, I don't trust Russian drivers that much. Okay, nothing's coming in there. Get some interesting driving. Interesting parking, right? So see this car here, right, for example. You think, oh, that must be like a diagonal parking. But it's not, they just park that way. And here they kind of park straight, and that white four-wheel drives diagonal. It's, I guess it's a bit country townish as well, you know what I mean? It's a bit country townish. Doesn't matter too much. It's not as if you have to fit in a million cars, you know what I mean? So that's okay. It's just funny to see, honestly. Vinograd. So I believe, I could be wrong, I mean vino is obviously wine, but I have a hunch that Vinograd is the wine grape. I have this vague sense that that's what it means. Oh wow, look how nice it is on that side. Alright, so our task, I think, is to get over there where the green is. Because over here it's much less attractive. That looks really nice over there. The thing is, no one really walks, you know what I mean? If you've got a country or a city or whatever, and you've got to allocate resources, and no one's walking on this, why would you fix it? You know what I mean? Like, it kind of makes sense, as I try not to twist my ankle. This is a common sight around the world, really. Most places you go that don't have a very strong source of tax revenue, that's kind of what you end up with. Gets built but not maintained properly. Although saying that, this is quite nice. To be honest, I'm being a bit picky because I live in Belarus and Belarus is impeccable. You know what I mean? If one of these little things here is broken, wait till tomorrow, it's fixed, right? It's probably the neatest, well-maintained, best-maintained country in the world. It'd be close. Maybe in the top 10, that's for sure. I certainly noticed the difference going Belarus to Lithuania to Finland. Lithuania was pretty hacked up and oh wow, this would be interesting. You guys want to look down here? These buildings might be interesting. Wow, that could be really interesting. Let's check these out. There you go. Planet Secondhand. That's what I'm talking about. See, that's literally Planeta Secondhand. It's literally English words with Russian characters. Although they've got the rest of it's normal Russian. Skidki, Zavodnya, Reshim Raboti. It's the normal Russian words, but again, just the title there. Planeta calls planet, and you can just see second hand. Planet Secondhand. So I went secondhand clothes shopping in Minsk once. Long story. And it's an interesting experience. They actually sell clothes by the kilo. They sell clothes by the kilo. So if you go into a secondhand store in the West, they'll be usually items will be individually priced, right? But in the one I went to in Minsk, I believe it will happen the same way here. Is that actually you pay per kilo? So jeans are a bit more expensive, obviously. You got to start thinking of, when I pack a suitcase, how do I pack it? And you start kind of thinking, oh yeah, jeans are the heaviest. Kind of light cotton shirts for summer are the lightest, therefore the cheapest. So it looks like we've got a bit of, so this area, if you didn't know, is really well known for watermelons. There's some there. Being sold. Not a huge fan of watermelons. If I was, see, this is quite common. These houses here. This is quite common. This is definitely a typical traditional Russian house, pre-Soviet era Russian house. I'm not sure how they kept them insulated. The older houses like this that I've been inside in Belarus, what they do is they have a separate heater in every room. The ones that are heated by wood, I'm saying, before they access gas and kind of did it this way. When they're self-heated, you know, you'll get like, I don't know, cubic meters, maybe 100 cubic meters worth of wood or something before the winter. Maybe not 100, maybe my guess is out, maybe 50. And then in every single room, there'd be a big furnace. And if you want to go in that room, you start burning the furnace, wood inside the furnace, that heats up that room. And you stay in that room. But as I say again, I'm not entirely sure how they go about insulating on the inside. Because because this is where it's at, right? Like insulation, if you can keep it insulated, you're kind of good. Like my hotel room here, it's a humble hotel, although it's pretty bloody good actually. I think it's only 2 stars. It was when I was in Moscow, it was 4 stars. It was this little shitty box with nice decor, and I'm like, what the fuck's this? So the one here, I think it's only, actually no, it's 3 stars. But it's really good. It's really spacious. It's just a bit old daggy kind of bedding. Like it's like 2 single beds, so it's like a kind of an old duvet. It's the older style, not old as in worn. But it's raging hot here at the moment, and overnight it was probably 28 as a minimum, which in freedom numbers or Fahrenheit numbers is about 82 as a minimum. And all I had to do was shut my window, turn the aircon on, and it stayed cool. Turn the aircon on for like an hour, and that was it for the night. So well insulated. Of course, it's well insulated for the winter, these cold winters that you get in Russia, but it kept me nice and cool last night, even though it was 30 degrees for most of the night outside and people were sweating. I was inside oblivious, sleeping under a single sheet and living a good life. So this is like to be the major river here, so it's connected up there. We might even try to, I'll get up to that point. And we'll see what's there. As I say, I haven't walked around yet, so you guys are getting first-hand experience. It's all quite nice villagey vibes. It's a very famous form of transport here in this part of the world. I always forget what they're called. I'm such an idiot. Oh my god, it frustrates me. I keep trying to remember what it's called. I always forget. It starts with M. It's like Marshrutka or something like this. To be honest, I don't get in them, so I don't know. Looking pretty good down here. Looking pretty clean. One train. Yeah, the guys here, Moscow and St. Petersburg, still had a fair bit of etiquette when it came to letting passengers go. Oh, sorry, letting pedestrians go. Spasibo. I'll take that back. They've always been run over about 3 times crossing the road, so I'm like, let's let the cars go. But the old bloke there stopped for me. Alright, so let's see what's up on the corner here, because this seems to be like a fairly major intersection going on. There you go, got some Astrakhan. Stalayaruchi. So this lady in front of me appears to be of Asian descent. And I tell you what, Astrakhan is a bit of a melting pot. As I said, there's a mosque as well as Orthodox churches and a lot of Central Asian genetics of varying types. There's a lot of different genetics here. I tell you what, I didn't quite know that, and I haven't researched it yet properly. That looks like the top of a mosque there, you can see. Nice calm river, but yeah, it is a real ethnic melting pot here. Well, this looks a lot nicer now. Oh, old school larder. Yeah, I love it. They were boxy, weren't they? Boxy little things. Humming along alright though. So you can go across the middle there. But I'm more inclined to stay on this side, even though that looks like a beautiful fountain and nice gardens. I'm more inclined to stay over here to see kind of how life is, because I feel like every fountain's kind of the same, you know, in the end. I mean, yeah, they're nice and they're pleasant and blah 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 blah, but I think it's interesting to see how people live over here for me. That little fella there. So we keep going, and I believe the city centre's fairly soon. Within a kilometre or so anyway. we can cruise. The greenery, some more modern kind of buildings. My understanding, this city has around 500,000 people, which is getting up there. I mean, it's some size. It's not tiny, but it feels tiny after coming from Moscow, I have to say. I mean, I live in Minsk, which is maybe triple the size of this, but it feels like a city. It feels like a warm city, like a cozy city, like emotionally warm. Like, whereas Moscow is like just your typical mega city of just kind of dog eat dog. Very typical mega city kind of feel to it. Whereas Minsk feels quite homely despite 1.5 to 2 million people, and here feels quite townly, to be honest. I'm trying to compare it to 500,000 cities, 500,000 people cities in Australia, and I'm thinking, well, Canberra's probably somewhere near there, and I guess that feels a bit towny, but not as much as here. Now after that, I don't know what there is in that population range. Maybe Newcastle. It's quite industrial though. There's kind of a gap there once you get below kind of 1 million, 1.5 million of maybe Adelaide, Perth, Brisbane. There's kind of a drop down. You don't really get many cities between 300,000 and 1 million in Australia, so I'm struggling to kind of think of what might be comparable, but I have to say I'm a bit happy with what I'm seeing now. When I was looking from the hotel this morning, I'm like, goodness gracious me, where am I? You know, blah blah, Toto, that kind of stuff. But now I see this is a lot nicer, a lot better put together area. I'd like to show you the other part. It's not glorious, but it's an interesting contrast. Because if I just dropped you here, you'd be like, oh, this is a nice little city. And I would have seen videos of people walking, and as I was kind of deciding where to go, that would have been partly a contributor for me to come here, right? That's a good bus. I've got to work out the public transport system here, because I can see that it's going to be mid to high 30s all this week, which is bloody warm. So I might have to sort out the buses. For some reason my Sberbank card won't work here. It won't work on the Yandex app. It's right in shops and stuff. But Yandex app, almost twisted my ankle there. Won't work on it for some reason. So I've got to constantly pay cash to the drivers, which is a real pain in the ass. Are we going to go there? Are we going to have that discussion about central bank digital currencies? We can. I can do it. You don't have to though. I'm going to avoid it. But cash is handy. Digital cash can be very handy. That's for sure. I really wish the Lightning Network would take off. The Lightning Network, which is a layer on top of the Bitcoin network. So I reckon that we could either go there or we could go here. This has got some time left. Let's cross here. Let's get across. And then maybe turn right. It's going to be nice and green. I have a hunch the city centre's kind of that way. But one thing I'll say is it's damn quiet. There's really not people around. Like, look at that. You look up there and it must be 300 metres and you see a total of 2 people. This way is kind of the same. Obviously people have jobs. Well, they don't. But a lot of people do. They're working and whatever, they can't just walk around. Got the scooters here as well. Alright folks, well I hope you've enjoyed this video today. Bit of a impromptu wander around Astrakhan.